heard Raban earlier talking about the importance of making use of the democracy principle. Do you get a lot of questions? Do you sense a certain level of fear or insecurity by the response or content that you get, or is there even rejection of some sort of information or campaigns? Can you talk a little bit about the back channel that happens? I know that it's probably a friction of what's going on, but I think it's an interesting question.
Yeah, this is a great question, because usually, you know, in normal times, you would say that the biggest fear of a communication department is a shitstorm, right? That you're in the eye of in the storm and people will attack you. In crisis communication, you have a shitstorm every single day. Not by, let's say, large scale public, but by various groups and various individual people who are very, very, very angry and mad at the current situation. We had people, you know, in the early days writing on the Facebook timeline, "I'm sick since 1 week, I can't get anyone on the phone, my children are crying every day, help, what can I do?" And like hundreds of people share it. So what do you do? If you go into that, and the team of community management, which was increased from like 2 people to 9 or 10 people in a matter of 2 weeks, and even 10 people is, in order to answer all messages, not enough. You get on an average about, this is for Germany speaking, on an average 5,000 to 6,000 comments per day, questions. And those are questions, especially as a ministry, you need to detail research every question that you do, because in times of social media, a screenshot even from a tweet that the ministry puts out that is not 100% accurate will cause an even worse shitstorm. So good community management guidelines are important, and it's also important to accept that there are many people turning to you on social channels that are angry, that are mad, and it's more about management of expectations. Do you show to the overall other people that you try to inform those people without going into emotional, personal stories? Like, unlike a corporate, you cannot, for instance, even if you would love to post something like, okay, yes, we will help you, give me your number. What is about the 1,000 other people? And then you started something that you cannot contain anymore. In order to build up that, I would advise to have a very, very comprehensive community management tool like Spot.io or others, where you can build up templates for, let's say, the frequently asked questions with various modules of text that you can then use and copy paste. Because if you will start typing from the scratch, one community manager max can answer like, maximum 30 to 40 replies per hour, and this is not enough. So you need to find ways in order to standardize the process, because otherwise you will be swamped with so much comments that you cannot execute that in a good time manner.
Maybe one question that we can pop in for Raban to fill in, because we haven't had a chance earlier, is there we are. Was a question that came up about the potential discrepancy between democratic instruments and the speed of processes and decision making, and whether that is actually a conflict, or what tools might be helpful to overcome this gap between the idea of democratic processes and the necessity of making quick decisions. I don't know if this is something that you would like to comment on.
Yes, surely. Well, that's a classical point, which is normally then, how to say, a classical objection, saying that we don't have time for this kind of, blah, blah rounds, where everyone first tells how he's feeling and we are collecting ideas and there's no good facilitation moderation. And we all know that there are possibilities, at least those who work professionally in this field know that it's only a question on the design of your process and on the, let's say, capability of the facilitator who is in charge. So, I'm not speaking, I'm speaking about participation, not about, public participation at the first degree. So, for example, this concept of planning ahead teams, this is a good example of a participatory tool. And truly the question is, who would be sitting, for example, in such kinds of plan ahead teams? Is this only some selected experts where the CEO trusts, and he knows them? Or do we have a bigger mixture? And we have this so-called concept of aleatoric democracy, it's called, developed in the last 30 years. But the idea is not new. We already had it in the Greek in ancient times, where you have small bodies with ordinary people. Everyone can be selected randomly out of the population. And we have very good results with it, because at the end, to find a good decision, it's a question of you have to be informed, you have to deliberate, and it's very good if the people who deliberate are not directly, or say, involved. There are no stakeholders directly, because then normally they try to push their own position forward. That's why randomly selected people are better in, for instance, weighing, making trade-offs and finding good decisions. So I personally have been working in the last 20 years with this kind of randomly selected mini publics, how they're called. And this can range from 5 to 25 people normally. This is the best size. And depending on the complexity, on the question, which should be in certain sense, balanced and find its recommendations, it's a question between 4 to 6 hours. So I think, especially when it comes to bigger decisions, you have to have this time. Surely, if this is maybe not the best method when there's an earthquake and you have to mobilize in hours, the resources. But for this, normally you also have your catastrophe plans. We are speaking here from catastrophes, from crises, where you have a certain planning time, where you have to get information, where you have to ask experts. And the problem with experts is, every expert is, in German you say Fachidiot, he's an idiot in his field. No, he is not an idiot in his field, he's an expert in his field, but he's an idiot in most other fields. So that's also why more participatory tools means also to have more consulting teams, where you have, for example, more social scientists, more people from the churches and from NGOs and so on, and not only people from the health sector, for example. I think this also would, I would say, widen the public acceptance of decisions. We had, this in the presentation we just had from Schoeller, where he also was referring how important this kind of, proactive communication strategy is. And I think it's good to have professionals who organize it, but it's better to have professionals who organize such kind of public deliberative procedures. Recommendation, because I also facilitate quite a lot of these Zoom conferences, And for this kind of discussion, it's helpful if those who are interested in discussing are opening their cameras. So it's easier now. We have more like this of the real life setting, and if someone to discuss, you also can just make like this, and then you can, Oliver, let's say, direct it. So at least we know who are the people who are still, how to say, really hearing and present.
I had one more question earlier left, directed initially to Martin Pescher, who I see is at this time still participating as well. And maybe this is a question that just both of you can take. But the question was that given the financial crisis element of this situation, from an innovations point of view, what would be the best opportunities through digitization in the field of fintech or banking to help this? Because we have seen banks obviously playing an important role in the last major crisis that we've witnessed. This is a different type of crisis, but still banks play an important role in maneuvering it, be it through deploying funds from the state into the economy, or maybe securing certain industry sectors. Are there, so the question was, what were the best opportunities through digitization in that field? So Martin, if I may point this question to you, but obviously for other speakers to comment on it, yeah. It's an open discussion.
I think so far from the behavior of the banks and from all the work that we do with the banks, also around the whole risk management and scoring models, it feels that in majority of the countries there will be launched initiative driven by the state to postpone the giving out holidays to consumers and companies for paying their loans and mortgages. And this puts a pressure on the cash position or balance position of the banks. So that creates a possibility that banks will not provide loans that are not guaranteed by the state or very much limited. So that it leads to drying out cash. In that environment, I think in the last crisis, mainly US and UK, the peer-to-peer loans providers were born. And I think in majority of the countries, this will be the opportunity, but this time not so much in the consumer loans area, but in the SME. So bypassing the banks and directly connecting like people to companies and creating like potential for funding SMEs. So this would be one big topic that I would think can be in the fintech the opportunity. And then second one is in few countries around of course with the growth of the e-commerce, the payment methods around the e-commerce, and mainly the area of deferred payment with again in the environment where there isn't enough cash, could be strong product that for example, internationally in several countries, Klarna is strong player, but by far is not spread product across many countries. So that's the second one that I would think is a good potential.